And I'm so excited to have both of you here today to talk about another very important topic, and that is of assessments. And we're going to get into that and the meaning of it, the whys, the hows. But first of all, I would like to introduce my lovely guests today. My name is Kevelyn Pascos, and I am here with two of my two favorite guests, which include Bob Britz, who is a global business strategist and entrepreneur. Bob created Career Coach Services and Progressor Group to help job seekers, professional coaches, and businesses thrive in today's world. Bob's passion is helping our licensed coaches succeed in their practice, helping professionals advance their careers. And my friend Natalie West is a certified career coach dedicated to accelerating your job search, helping you find meaningful, fulfilling, and financially rewarding careers. Natalie serves clients in the Kansas City, Missouri region, and in addition, since she serves clients via phone and video conference. So after we get done with our topic, there will be a Q&A following this discussion, and let's get started. Welcome, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, this is great. I know that this is our something that we're very passionate about as well, to help share this information with others and why it's important, because it's not completely, it's not accessible to a lot of people to understand the background of how assessments work in the career search to find a fulfilling career that matches perhaps what is in your assessments. So in this discussion, we will focus on the topic of using assessments to determine your career path. So let's get started. And why do we use assessments?
Well, that's a great question. Everyone that you talk to has probably taken an assessment at one time or another. A lot of times you'll take them as an entrance part to a job application. They'll have you take an assessment there. You'll take it at your church in a marriage and family conference environment, or you may take it in a business setting in a company where your team's being developed and they're trying to balance the talents and things like that by using the assessments. And so those are kind of different ways that people use them. We use them a lot because we want them to be used to help define the types of careers that people would enjoy doing based upon who they are, not necessarily what the dollars are or the location of the company, but are you a good fit for the job based on who you are as a person? And so the history of these goes back a long way. The company that we use is out of Arizona, and they have been in business since about 1985. Well, they purchased the original manuscript work from William Marsden, who created the DISC profile. Now, all of you have had Myers-Briggs, DISC, Strength Finders, Anagram, Waltons, Georges, McDonald's. There's tons of them out there. The true benefit you get from an assessment isn't taking it. It's the debrief you get from somebody to help you interpret it so that you can use it for not only then, but the rest of your life. And so our company, what they've done is they have taken the original manuscripts and they've computerized it. And the advantage of that is that if you go take a Myers-Briggs or some of the other platforms, they end up with 16 people you have to fit into, or maybe 24 people that you have to fit one of those areas. The ones that we use have 385 individual reports. You can't tell me you're not one of those. So the accuracy has to be there as well. Myers-Briggs does not release any validity statistics on their products. How do you know that they're valid? How do you know in a company that they're not going to violate biases? You don't know these things. And the company that we use spends all their time doing that to make sure that they work well in a corporation for corporate needs, but also for the individual trying to find a job.
That's excellent. And I have some questions at the end, but perhaps maybe we can fit those in before. Will you be covering the areas of getting assessments during an interview that maybe you weren't expecting? And are you allowed to have those assessment results back in your hands to understand why you did or did not get the job? So that would be one thing. And so these assessments are available in working with the career coach and any one of your career coaches across the country. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Everyone, yeah, we all do it.
Okay.
It's a short answer to a good question. Normally, when you're taking these assessments on the way into a company, you will never see the results. You'll never be allowed to see the results. And of course, that's because the attorneys tell everybody that that's going to create a problem. If why did you not hire me? This all looks so good. So you're never going to see it on the interview side.
Oh,
If
interesting.
you're hired, definitely that goes to the manager. The manager sits with you and kind of goes over it. And maybe they're already doing it with the team, so it just integrates into the team. But in the interview side, nah, you're not going to get that back.
So what you're saying, assessments reflect the behavior style that tells us how we learn and do things. So obviously, when you're taking it proactively, these assessments through you two or your other career coaches, you get to actually see the results and work with these results to
Mhm.
pinpoint the career industry or the passion or purpose that you want to fulfill in your career. And that's what you can help folks do down the road with your assessments, and to not be confused with interview assessments given from a company that you're interviewing with third
Mhm.
party.
Exactly. Now I'll
Okay.
let Natalie take it from here because this is really getting into the detail of the assessments and how people use them. So
Awesome. Let's go. That's I love it.
And I would say that from a human resource standard, the assessments would not be the reason that a person got the job or didn't get the job. The assessments are just a tool to use to help you make that decision to see if this is a good fit for the employee as well, because you definitely want to have an employee that's in a position that they enjoy and that's going to be good for them. So it's not the deciding factor. It factors in about 30% of the decision. So that's just from a human resource standard viewpoint. Sorry, I'm okay. So I have to say that the assessments are probably my biggest passion when I'm working with people. I love it because it's speaks to leadership. It speaks to where you belong in and I've worked in churches where they've also used them for their volunteer programs to make sure that they're not just putting a warm body in a spot. They're making sure that people really enjoy what they're doing when they're there at volunteering. So there are different ways that you can utilize them. But what I will also say is that 22 years ago, I took my first disc, and it was this company that they used, and it literally changed my life. And it's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So
Wow.
it totally changed my perspective on it, helped me to really understand who I am. So this is very important to me.
That is
So what
that is dynamic though, Natalie. You just gave me the chills actually. But what you just said is what the intention of these assessments is geared towards doing and helping people instead of going into a career that you hate. You are going directly into a career that you're going to love and both parties are going to benefit from. So thank you for sharing that.
right. So you should be able to know yourself well enough to understand what type of a career you want.
Mhm.
We these assessments that we do within Career Coach, there are three parts to the assessment. So there's the behavior part, then there's the driving forces part, which is what motivates you, and it's kind of your culture, if you will. And then there's the task quotient part that speaks to how much time is what's ideal in breaking up your time at a position. How much time do you spend on troubleshooting? How much time do you spend on routine? How much time do you actually get to spend on your projects? There are people who um, that's where they want to spend most of their time, and if they can't, then it's very frustrating. It causes frustration. So what I try to do with my clients is, number one, we go over the behavior parts. They take all of it online, and it doesn't take very long to take these tests online. But we talk about the DISC. The DISC is what we use. And the DISC stands for, the D is for dominance, the I is for influence, the S is for steadiness, and the C is for compliance. Now, some people will have a blend of maybe 2 to 3 of these behaviors that stand out. Or some people may just have one dominant one that stands out. So it all just depends. It's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad or pass or fail. This is who you are. This is how you're wired. So what's going to be best for how you're wired?
Mhm.
Um, I can tell you that what this does is it brings people a lot of confidence. Lots of times people will feel like, well, I know that I'm not outgoing and I know that I don't do this. And so they're already sabotaging themselves
Mhm.
because of that. And it's like, if you're introverted, that's just how you're wired. So how do you, let's look at this and see where you can um, have a fit for a career where you don't have to be outgoing. You can't be all things. When I look at job descriptions with people, I will say, well, look, they want you to be this, they want you to be that. They want all four of the behaviors. And the only person we know that has all four behaviors uh, that they work in is Jesus, and he has a job. So we're pretty sure that they either want Jesus or someone psychotic to come in and come in and work for them. So sometimes it's in the job description, and once people really get a good feel for where they are going to shine, then they can start reading these job descriptions and say, well, that's two different things. This is like the old Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. So they will be able to advocate for themselves a lot more and have a lot more confidence in who they are and know what they bring to the table. So I love the behavior part because it's a good place to start. That's how we do things. Now the driving forces, which is the motivators, that's our culture. That's why we do things. So lots of times Bob and I have a lot of things in common with our personalities, our behavior blends, but we have different but and that's not one of them. But we have a lot of things that are in common, but I guarantee you that why we do things are going to be a little bit different. And we
Very
may
good.
have some of those in common, but probably not all of them. That's why when people get married, people say, oh, well, you're total opposites, but how do they end up getting along? And some of them don't, but we're not going to go there. Some of them do. My parents have been married 67 years this year, and they have the same culture. They have the same why. So that's what they've focused on all these years is they have the same goals in life. They have the same values, if you want to use that word. But it's your culture. And so we also train people to understand their culture, what culture they're going to work in best because it matches up to their values. And then also when we talk about that, I also teach them how to look for that on company websites, and anybody can say what they want to say on websites. So then you follow it up on your interview and you ask some pertinent questions. It helps you to go in educated to your interview to ask some certain questions, because if you're a person, let's say, who's receptive, that's somebody who really likes a lot of ideas and they have a lot of ideas. And they will get shot down at a lot of places that are very traditional. So they need to look for companies that are constantly trying new things and have that kind of a culture where they applaud those ideas, and they love having those ideas, and they love having someone to come in and share their new ideas. That's where that person is going to really be able to get in and make a difference. And,
Can I
and I know I'm doing this kind of fast, but then the task question is, how much time do you want to spend troubleshooting? Troubleshooting is a lot of people contact. You're either calling people back or you're talking to people within your organization. If you're an introvert, you don't want to spend very much time doing that. You can do some of it, but you don't want to spend your life there because that will make you very unhappy. So those are the things. Then I teach them to look at the job description and kind of get an idea for what they're asking. What does this look like, and to ask really good questions in the interview process too.
So those are great points. And as you were talking, I think your parents should be career coaches. I think that they would be a great addition to your program, Bob. But how wonderful is that? Congratulations to them. That's pretty spectacular in itself. I would also say too, for people that have a myriad of talent, say they have a long, maybe they're older, maybe they're young, or maybe they're older. Well, when you're older, you've got more experiences, you've got more talents and skill sets that you didn't have maybe coming out of college. So for instance, all three of us probably have a variety of things that we could just hop back into easily and it's no problem, which can be also a problem because when you're looking at these jobs, like, oh, I could do
Mhm.
that, I could do that, I could do that. But as Bob and I talked last week, you said yes, but it's you have to be able to really target what those things are, what those skill
Mhm.
sets are. And what you said too, Natalie, and that it changed your life. I would equate this almost to getting your DNA results back because I did that. And for my whole life, I thought I was one thing and I got my results back and I was another. And it was almost like a horoscope too, where now I could fit into that. Now I had more confidence and now I researched more of what that background looked like and that nationality looked like and the origin and all that. And I feel that that's not unlike what these assessments are all about as well,
Mhm.
where say you've got 18 skill sets because you're pretty handy and you're smart and you've done all this stuff, but people don't necessarily want to hire all of that. So when you take your assessments and can really refine those to top three skill sets that don't overlap too much, but that can offer a company as a tremendous asset of those three pillars, if you will. And I love this. I am going to be taking I threatened you guys a long time ago to take these, and I'm finally doing it. I've got the link, and I'm really excited about this because like you mentioned, it really can give you the affirmation of what you are good at and to lead with that and to have more confidence in the three areas instead of diluting it with other items that they don't maybe could care less about.
Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking when Natalie was talking, and you were talking as well, when you get later in life, you take these assessments, and a lot of times they're very reaffirming. You kind of know, but it's nice to see it written in a way that you can understand it and then take action on it. I was speaking with a young lady who is at San Luis Obispo. She's a junior last night, and she was on one screen, and her parents were in the local city where I at, and we all talked about it. We decided to do these assessments. She'd been in college for 2.5 years and really didn't know what she wanted to do and why she wanted to do it. And so we're going to go through this process with her, and we'll get the list of jobs out the back end of here's examples of jobs you would enjoy. You may not want to be something that deals with blood. That's fine. Get rid of all the medical stuff. You can go there's other jobs there that you may really find yourself aligning with. But the important thing is I also get people that are like, I want the money. I want to be in sales, right? And they've got this huge, personality and everything. But you get to their values that Natalie was talking about, and they don't value utility and money. Well, if you're in sales and you don't value money and utility, you're not going to do very well. And younger people going into this can really use this because they've never seen this before. They don't know about themselves yet. So
Oh, that's a good point.
it's
That
fascinating.
that's a great point, Bob. And as older folks that really know each other or ourselves, and the younger folks that would like great stuff. Okay, so let's keep going. This is exciting.
Well, I have worked with people who I can say that really uh, were concerned about how they came off to other people in their positions and things like that. And, they were really beaten down by that. But their problem wasn't necessarily them. The problem is that they're working with people who are complete opposites from them. And so there's always going to be that clash. And
Right.
there is understanding yourself, and there is also you can go a little bit further and you can talk about emotional quotient, which helps you to be able to manage your personality or your behavior blend in a way that is conducive to the work industry, that helps you to not react, and that comes with age too. The younger kids that come in, I think this is a great option for them to understand who they are and what their tendencies might be and where they might learn to be more self-aware. These are areas that are good for anyone to learn at any age. And so, when I learned my behavior style, I was the youngest of 7 kids, and I was the only one that was not compliant,
Oh my
which,
goodness.
causes a problem with your parents. And it also tends to cause problems with your elementary school teachers because they don't know what to do with a child who does not feel the need to be compliant. But it wasn't a behavior issue. It was it it wasn't a behavior issue in the classroom. It was more so that was my personality. That's who I was. And they didn't recognize that. And it's not their fault. But the very first place I was able to actually put this into application, and I actually ran it in a school system, and it was awesome because teachers finally started to understand that their kids had different personalities in their classrooms, and there were reasons that some talked all the time and some didn't talk. We were talking before the show, and Kevin, you said sometimes you have to mute yourself. Not literally, but you have to mute yourself before you go in and tell yourself to listen. That's EQ. Awesome. But there are also kids that do not speak up because there were kids like me who blurted out the answers all the time. So there's something that is very important about understanding yourself, understanding other people, helping you to understand what kind of a situation you want to go in and where you're going to thrive. And so where you're going to thrive is somewhere where you can go in and be yourself, because then you don't have to worry about it, but being yourself responsibly. And then also understanding what motivates you. So if you get into a rut and you can't figure out how to get out of the rut, there are strategies within these that kind of help people to get out of the rut and be more productive. So it's a great tool to use. It builds a lot of self-confidence, and typically your behavioral blends do not change. Sometimes your why will change over the years because other things will become more important to you. But I will say that it's really important for people to understand who they are and what they want, because otherwise they are going to put themselves in, they're going to put their own warm body in a position and be unhappy with where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really fun to have those aha moments with people and to tell people that, why do you think this is a bad thing? This is a great thing. And to be able to give them some really good encouragement and talk about what's so great about this behavior style.
Well, it's the confidence that you're giving them as well, where they can go in and say and talk about it and practice. I think it allows not only the confidence level, but it allows you to practice beforehand in honing in talking about those skills when you're in an interview, because that is a very, very scary. I don't care how experienced you are. Interviews are pretty intimidating. So thank you.
Yes.
I've got a friend of mine who a couple months ago was literally freaking out. He has a job where he was interfacing with the CEO of the company. That was his business partner. But the business partner, CEO, was not engaging him, not inviting him to the calls, not inviting him to the meetings. He was doing all these things. And my friend's very aggressive, very forward-moving person. And he's like, I just can't handle this anymore. This guy's not engaging me at all. And so I asked a few questions. What's he like? What's his background? Oh, he's an engineer. Okay, check. That's a little bit more introverted. Quiet, right? He's not involving you in calls. He doesn't trust that extra input. He's trying to keep it quiet. And we went through and figured out this guy's probably a high compliance person that likes his privacy a lot. Well, my friend is about 6'3", 250 pounds. He is all muscle. He walks in a room and everybody's intimidated. So imagine him walking into this CEO's office who's quiet, demure, this whole thing. And so he had to pull his energy back immensely, and it worked. And he was working with him much, much better as the months went on from there. Understanding the other person is oftentimes just as important as understanding yourself.
I like that too, Bob, because you're so right, especially when you're in a company culture or company environment where you're working with a lot of different, very skilled folks, very experienced or a higher level of expertise. Their behavioral skills, maybe they're very shy, maybe they're a quarterback on a football team, but to understand their history or their background a little bit better allows you to have more effective and efficient communication interactions, for sure, in my experience anyway. So, okay, so these assessments help with that, obviously, because they're going to really, how many questions are on the DISC assessment? And is that the primary assessment that you rely a lot of your findings from to be able to guide folks in that way?
Yeah, the DISC assessment's 24 questions. I think the driving forces, Natalie, is that 24 as well? I can't recall. It's probably the same, close to the same.
I would say.
Yeah, but what people need to realize, because there's lots of different testing options out there. Actually, they're not tests, they're assessments. There's a big difference. There's no right or wrong answers. But DISC is here as the number one global platform for assessments, period. The number two is clear down here with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There is just no comparison to the number and quality of the DISC assessments that people use around the world. So you can get trapped into these other programs that are very specialized, and most of those end up working really well in a team in a company to do team development, but not to do assess, not look at job, not look at the individual as easily and adeptly as DISC does. So they're very short to take. We give people 30 to 40 minutes to take all three of them. It's a no-brainer time-wise. It's very easy.
So they can get these from your organization, and also to not be confused with maybe some other outfits might call it a DISC assessment because it's a general broad term that's given, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the actual DISC assessment that's copyrighted, trademarked, and specific to the outcome that you're looking at when you take these. So, okay. So 24 questions, there's 3 questions. I'm sorry. 3 assessments that a candidate can take with you. And how does that process look like with Career Coach if somebody was interested?
Well, what we would do is we always give a 30-minute complimentary Zoom call to just talk about where you're at and what you're wanting to do. And so then if they decide that they want to do that, then we would send them the assessment afterwards. They would take it, and then we do the debrief. I would say the debrief and the depth that this particular assessment goes into is what's so important, because we go into it. Usually takes me a little bit over 60 minutes to debrief someone on their assessment, because I want to make sure that they really do understand it. And I always leave it out there. If you have a question, please give me, send me an email. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have that come up. But I want to make sure that they understand, because it's not really taking the test. There are DISC tests that you can take online that are not in depth. They don't, and nobody there to tell you what they mean. That's what's really important, is the coaching on them and the understanding, the level of understanding that you need to have, because everybody, otherwise you could have people making, perception calls and making assumptions. So this way they're not assuming anything, and they're understanding fully what their results are. And then, so we would do that as a follow-up. And then they would have that information. Now, obviously, we have packages that fits into. So there's sometimes more that we do. And that would be, if it was just the assessments, that would be the process for doing this. But I do always tell people, for homework after they've been debriefed on it, I will say the best homework you can do is go back to Hulu and watch all the episodes of Survivor, because all those people you see all these personalities in all of those people, and you never want to be the personality I am and be on Survivor and go in and take charge, because you get voted off the island first.
I'd be a really good huntress.
Yeah.
Not a leader. It's too exhausting.
It's fascinating. I use a clip in my training with the coaches where we show Lou Dobbs interviewing William Snowden, who is, exiled in Russia and things. And you're watching Snowden answer questions. And you can tell when he's lying and when he's telling the truth by the inflection, what he says, how he says it, and who he is. You can use this in so many different ways just to kind of mark things for yourself. When you get that gut feeling about somebody sometimes, it's not wrong. It's usually right. And you can follow those things carefully and make sure you don't get stuck.
I'd like to add just a little comment on that too, Bob. When you're going when you're at an interview, and that one question, so tell me about your strengths. Now you can actually talk about your strengths in a good confident and structured manner where you've had the practice, because now you actually know what you're good at in front
Right.
of said person instead of talking about things that are not pertinent, like you said, Natalie, earlier. So great points, Bob.
Yeah.
And for introverts, when they see it in black and white, it's easier for them to relay that in an interview because they've seen it in black and white.
Mhm.
For people like Bob and I, will say it whether it, probably whether it's completely accurate or not, because we're confident in ourselves. We can do whatever is set before us, we will kill it,
Yeah.
But then there are people who are a little less confident in themselves, and that really helps build their confidence when they see it. They have it in black and white, they know what it is, and I tell them to make little crib sheets too to go with them so that they can remember those things.
Well, there's two things too. No company wants a jack of all trades. They just don't. They want to be able to know that they're hiring you for the skill set or the specialized expertise that they need at that point. So that is very clear. So don't blow your opportunity by being good at all things. That's not necessarily what a lot of companies want. The CEO already does that. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bob, I didn't want to cut you off there.
Yeah.
So what's next, Bob? So Natalie talked more about the personal aspect, and Natalie, were you finished with that
Mhm.
area? I wanted to make sure that we covered all of those, the skills, the values, and obviously to make a better decision in that particular position on both sides.
Right.
So, Bob, let's
Yeah.
take away on more of the corporate side.
I have two things for you. Yeah, the corporate side. Yesterday, I had a reference check call come in from one of my clients who wanted to get a new job, and they put me down as a professional reference and a personal reference, which means when they call me, I can say whatever I want. And you know what I did? I pulled up their disc profile, I pulled up their driving forces profile, and I was answering all the questions about where they're really good. And when they ask me what kind of things are challenges for them, well, there's a whole page that says, here's your strength, and here's the weakness that goes with it, and here's how you resolve it. So I was able to say, yeah, he's really good with knowledge and detail, but he can sometimes become bogged down in it. So he's developed a system to sort it out in a better way so he doesn't get slowed down when he's making decisions.
That's great.
You can't give a better answer than that. And I'm literally reading it off the screen, almost literally. And she told me at the interview, she goes, well, this has been fantastic. She goes, we haven't told him this yet, but he is getting the offer letter. She told me that. So I'm like, cool, that's great. But the other thing in corporations, and this is where it really starts to shine, is that we can set up a HR department. We can train them on how to get certified for these assessments. So they're authentic. And we know over 25 years, there's never been a bias claim or any kind of claim against these reports for not conforming to HR laws. These all conform to HR policies. But when you're interviewing, you can then instrument these yourselves with candidates. And if you get people at level 3 and you've got 5 of them, HR law says you have to assess all 5. You can't just assess one. That's a bias. However, now you get to compare them all. And you can pull them all together on one graph and look at who they all are combined. And now you get a really interesting picture about how these people are likely to behave, what motivates and drives them. You can offer money to engineers all day long, and what they really want are training classes. They're knowledge driven. Their motivation is knowledge. But people think it's about money, and it's not. So this really helps HR departments really caveat this in a very unique and very productive way. And it's not that expensive to do it, to be honest with you. It's pretty reasonable.
So that's another offering that I actually didn't know that you had as well, and maybe we could talk a little bit about that in the future. But I feel that if you can empower an HR department to be able to have tools accessible to them and to be certified, it's efficient. It doesn't cost them any more money, maybe some upfront investments, but they've got the ability now to hire talent right out of the gates with the background that they need to really take the different personality assessments into consideration to make sure that that candidate's a perfect fit. So great job. And be friends with Natalie and Bob. You will get excellent recommendations, both personally and professionally. So I love it. And I want to make sure that we cover the corporate piece of it, Bob, fully, but I also want to talk a little bit about what Career Coach has to offer and why somebody would and should work with your organization.
So, well, in general, we have 19 offices in 14 states in Canada, and we're hoping we'll open up our Romanian office in the next 4 to 6 weeks as well. Been around for 18 years, close to 10,000 clients, but all of our coaches, like Natalie, are certified and trained in not only these assessments, but also on the resumes, the LinkedIn, the cover letter aspects, how to market yourself, how to find a job using your network. I mean, everyone says the network, but no one ever teaches you exactly how to do it. And we do. So we just have all these nice tools that have deliverables at every single stage. We don't do talk therapy. We do results-oriented work with our clients every time with every stage.
And I've seen it, and I want to emphasize that big number that you just put out there with almost 10,000 professionals that you have successfully placed into fulfilling careers. That is data that is and proven. And Bob and I have gone, back 18 years, I believe, and
Mhm.
it's been really neat to see your company just take off and be such a legacy. And when you look up Career Coach on LinkedIn, he's the first guy. It's right there. So you've been around, you've been doing this consistently, and your passion and purpose is to help people find
Right.
fulfilling careers. And it's been great to watch this.
Thank you. And the other thing is that we are very selective about our coaches. Natalie and I actually met at the assessment company doing a 3-day seminar together back in 2020?
Yes, right
2019.
before the pandemic shut everything down.
And we're kindred. So it's like click, right? Everything just clicks and she's on board. But all of our coaches are truly handpicked and trained. They're not just people who come in and write resumes for fun. This is a business, and we do it in a way that is so helpful to our clients, and it's very consistent for all of our clients.
So in with that being said, is it a class that is ongoing? Is it individual? Do you do classes? How does this look with people's busy schedules? Obviously, they can't work with you when they're at work. So what does that look like if somebody were to inquire and reach out to you after today's call?
Natalie, you want to take that?
Sure. I work with people. I mean, some people can make it happen during the week. And if they can, that's what we do. But I have also worked with people who, they work 60 hours a week. And so I just tell them straight up front, and I will say, I don't do this for everyone, but to get you through this, I can meet on evenings and I can meet on Saturday mornings if that works for you. And
Mhm.
usually they're very thankful for that. And they are really good about making sure that they keep their times um, and we can get through it. So one way or another, we will get through it with you, whatever your schedule, dependent on what your schedule is, but we want to make sure that we're there for people when they need us.
Right.
And and remember too, when you're going through this process of looking for a job while you're working, it can be really stressful. It can be really time consuming. You're putting your resumes out there to LinkedIn, you're applying, you're seeing these job boards and you're not getting a lot of traction. Bob, his program, I'm going to quote you, it's 5 to 9 weeks is your average success rate in being able to work with you, locate, and sign offer letters to fulfilling careers. Is that pretty accurate?
It's pretty accurate. It's a little bit extended out right now because of all of the huge layoffs in this economy that we've had. So that's pushing a few weeks, beyond that. But you're absolutely correct. That's been about the average 5 to 9 weeks instead of 6 to 12 months. That's
Right.
what most people will spend wandering around LinkedIn and different easy apply buttons and just never get anywhere because it's a
Yeah.
black hole.
And now you're laser focused with these assessments, with this dedicated and expert team with Bob and Natalie and the the variety of other coaches that are across the U.S. The reason I'm with you and I love doing these with you is to help people and to empower people to find their purpose and passion, because I believe that all three of us and so many out there on LinkedIn have found themselves in just situations where they're miserable at their job and they thought that they would like it. It was great in the beginning, but you didn't ask the right questions. The alignment wasn't there. Maybe you should have said that you wanted marketing. Instead, you said sales, and now you're in sales and you wish. So I feel that these assessments are just a priceless tool. And I'm so excited for you to begin 2024 and increase that number to help even more people, especially with what you just said with the layoffs. So what you mentioned to me this week was don't wait until after the holidays to start looking. Don't think that
Oh no.
drinking cocoa and unwrapping gifts is going to be your best use of time. It is, but that after the holidays is when people start looking for jobs again. So now you're in a pile of 500. After the holidays, you're in a pile of 5,000. So I am
Yep.
serious about this. And I know Bob can attest to this as you've seen
Yep.
it over the last 25 years of doing this. So I cannot speak highly enough about you guys enough, and I'm just really really excited to keep doing this, empowering people to get them where they should be. And it's better for everybody. It's better for the company. It's better for them. They're
Yep.
fulfilled. The company's fulfilled, making more money. It's such a great thing for such a simple process that you offer so
Mhm.
easily, and it's all remote. You don't have to do any meeting in person, correct? It's all
Unless
remote.
if you're next door, it's fine. But most
Yeah.
people,
Unless
If they're
unless
in,
you live 15 minutes away from Bob, right?
yeah, if they're in town, then I encourage that if they want
yeah,
to. But sometimes people just have time constraints.
yeah.
Awesome. So as we wind down our conversation, and another great one, I've missed you, Natalie. We need to have you on more often. And Bob, we as we roll into December, and then in January, we're going to start kind of upping our offerings and our events, and just really I feel that the assessments and the HR and really helping people find their careers is really the three pillars that we are going to be focusing on in moving forward. And we do hope that you can join us again for a very long time, because we're not going anywhere. We're going to stay here for as long as we have audiences. And so, is there anything else that you would like to add to this, Natalie or Bob, that could brighten someone's day?
Well, I will say that I am offering two assessments for free for um, for the first two qualified individuals that approach me after this. You can reach me via LinkedIn, and just let me know that you would like to talk to me about taking an assessment.
Right. Fantastic. And something else that we do with our company in Arizona, it's very unique, and no other company that I know of does this. If you are involved in a nonprofit, that could be a charter school, it could be a church group, it could be a community type support group of some sort, we can get a grant from the assessment company that pays for the assessments. And the rules along with that is that we cannot charge for the delivery of the seminar. It's totally free to a nonprofit that qualifies. And you can have 20 people, you can have 80 people. It doesn't matter. We just need a couple weeks to set it up. But that's a great way for people to get a good jump in their own head about who they are and where they're at and how they want to move forward. And then they can go from wherever they want from there. But we love doing that. We've got a great, fun slide deck and some games we play with people as we go through it. It's just a killer evening to spend for about 2.5 hours with the group to bring their perspective up to where they can see who they are.
That's really fun. I think maybe we should do something like that on a Zoom where we can invite a bunch of audiences and maybe engage.
Okay, good.
So all of us are available on LinkedIn. You could go to our pages, Bob Britz, Natalie West, Kevlin Pascos. Underneath our profile picture, you will see contact information link, and you can either send us a personalized DM or go ahead and send us an email or whatever you feel most comfortable with. And like Natalie said, that she is offering 2 complimentary assessments upon qualifying the folks that come in. And we just really appreciate you stopping by today and hearing what we have to say in regards to assessments. And we do hope to be of service to you in the future. So stay tuned for future events. And I hope everyone has a great day and an awesome weekend. Stay warm out there, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.